Nearly 2,000 years ago, an emperor ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet his greatest battles were not against armies, but against himself. What can Marcus Aurelius teach us about surviving chaos, finding peace, and building strength in today's world? Marcus Aurelius was not only an emperor, he was a philosopher-king. In the quiet of his tent on the battlefields of Rome, he wrote private notes, reminders to himself on how to live. We call them meditations. He never meant for us to read them. Yet their wisdom survives because his struggles were no different from ours. Stress, ambition, mortality, and the search for meaning. By the end of this video, you'll uncover 7 timeless lessons from Marcus, tools to face modern life with calm and clarity. Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of Rome, the most powerful man on earth, and yet in his private writings he reminded himself of a simple truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. At first glance, this looks like common advice, but for Marcus, it was survival. Imagine ruling an empire constantly at war, facing invasions from Germanic tribes, a devastating plague sweeping across Rome, and political conspiracies within your own court. Even with all his armies, Marcus knew he could not command everything. He could not stop the plague. He could not silence betrayal. He could not prevent fate. What he could control was his response, his focus, his choices. This is the essence of Stoicism. Life is divided into 2 categories: what is within our control and what is outside of it. Within, our thoughts, decisions, actions, values. Outside, the weather, the opinions of others, random misfortune, even death. The Stoics taught that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from our resistance to them. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Modern psychology echoes this. Studies on locus of control show that people who believe they can direct their own behavior, rather than blaming external forces, are more resilient, less stressed, and more successful. Ryan Holiday, in The Obstacle is the Way, reframes Marcus's insight. Obstacles are not barriers, they are the raw material for growth. Think about it. Obsessing over politics won't change a law, but controlling how you educate yourself can change your future. Complaining about the economy won't create wealth, but controlling your discipline, your skills, and your network might. Wishing someone would respect you won't make it happen, but carrying yourself with strength and integrity will eventually demand it. Marcus faced more chaos than most of us ever will, yet he became known as the last of the 5 good emperors, not because the world was stable, but because he was. The modern lesson is clear. Stop wasting your life trying to control storms you cannot calm. Redirect that energy to the ship you are steering, your mind, your habits, your actions. That is where true power lies. Marcus Aurelius lived his entire reign under pressure. Wars on the frontiers, a plague that killed millions, betrayals inside his own palace. For most rulers, these would be excuses to complain, to break, or to cling desperately to luxury. But Marcus saw adversity differently. He saw it as fuel. In Meditations, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This was not just philosophy, it was survival. The Germanic invasions forced Marcus to leave the comfort of Rome and live for years in military camps on the Danube River. Instead of treating hardship as a curse, he used it to sharpen discipline. Eating soldiers' rations, sharing their tents, leading by example. The suffering of war became a classroom for endurance and leadership. This mindset, adversity as an advantage, is echoed in modern psychology. Angela Duckworth calls it grit, the ability to sustain effort and passion through long struggles. Nassim Taleb goes further in Anti-Fragile. Stress, volatility, even failure can make systems stronger if embraced correctly. Just like the body strengthens under weightlifting stress, the mind strengthens under life's burdens. Marcus embodied this. When plague decimated Rome's population, instead of collapsing, He focused on stability, reforming laws, strengthening administration, and writing down his philosophy that still guides us today. His wisdom was literally forged in catastrophe. The modern lesson is this: most people see hardship as something to escape, but strength comes when you lean into it. Every obstacle, the failed business, the betrayal, the illness, the loss, is raw material. Like iron in the fire, adversity burns away weakness and leaves resilience behind. Marcus did not wish for a lighter burden. He built stronger shoulders, and that is the hidden advantage. While others curse their fate, the Stoic turns trial into transformation. Marcus Aurelius often wrote to himself about the hardest battle of every morning, simply getting out of bed. In Meditations, he tells himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I must go to work as a man. Do I have to complain about doing what I was made for? Or was I created only to stay under warm blankets?" This wasn't just poetic reflection. It was a daily war against comfort. The Emperor of Rome, ruler of millions, struggled with the same temptation we do: to delay, to stay soft, to let the morning slip away. But Marcus knew something powerful. How you start your morning decides who you will become. The first act of the day is either surrender or victory. Modern science agrees. James Clear in Atomic Habits shows that small, repeated actions compound into destiny. Rising early, journaling, reflecting, or tackling meaningful work before distractions take over rewires your brain. The act itself becomes identity. Each morning you prove to yourself that discipline guides you, not laziness. Cal Newport calls this deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on a task that matters. The early hours are sacred because the world is still quiet. Your mind is sharp, and every choice echoes louder. For Marcus, rising early was not just about duty as emperor. It was about mastery of the self. If you cannot command your own body out of bed, how will you command your mind, your household, or an empire? The lesson for modern life is clear. Build your mornings with discipline. Begin with silence, reflection, writing, or the hardest task of the day. The specific ritual matters less than the signal it sends. I lead myself before the world leads me. Each morning, victory becomes a brick. Over years, those bricks build unshakable character. Marcus knew, comfort is fleeting, but discipline builds legacy. Marcus Aurelius never wasted words. When he wrote in Meditations, he wasn't performing for others, he was scolding himself. Over and over, he reminds himself, "You will not live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While it is in your power, be good." Duty over distraction. That was his creed. For Marcus, distraction was more dangerous than the barbarians pressing against Rome's borders. Armies could be repelled, but wasted time could never be reclaimed. Every day stolen by gossip, vanity, or pleasure dulled the edge of discipline. Think about this. The most powerful man in the world, surrounded by luxury, could have drowned in indulgence. Yet, he constantly fought against idleness, reminding himself, even as emperor, that he was a servant of the people and of reason. Now fast forward 2,000 years. Our enemies look different, but the battle is the same. Notifications, endless scrolling, the lure of comfort. You're not facing swords and spears, but you're still under siege. Except this siege is invisible. Modern thinkers echo Marcus's warning. Cal Newport calls it shallow work, staying busy but never moving toward anything meaningful. Nassim Taleb, in Anti-Fragile, explains that noise creates fragility. The more scattered your attention, the weaker your mind becomes when chaos arrives. Stephen Covey puts it bluntly in 7 Habits. Most people confuse urgency with importance. We chase what screams the loudest, not what matters most. Marcus knew this trap well. That's why he trained himself to measure value not by what entertained him, but by what strengthened him. He wrote, Love only that which happens and is woven in the pattern of your destiny. That means your duty is not what distracts you. Your duty is what builds you. Think of a soldier on the battlefield. Every sword swing, every movement has to be deliberate. If his attention scatters, he's finished. Life is no different. Each moment given to distraction weakens your defenses. Each moment invested in duty sharpens your strength. So here's the hidden power. Duty is not a burden, it's a shield. It's how you fight back against the world's chaos. If you live by distraction, you live shallow. If you live by duty, you live strong. Marcus's warning is not a relic of the past. It's a weapon for today. Because in a world drowning in noise, focus is the rarest form of power. Marcus Aurelius was not obsessed with death out of despair, but out of discipline. He reminded himself every day, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. This wasn't morbid. It was clarity. By holding death close, Marcus sharpened life. Seneca echoed this centuries before in On the Shortness of Life. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Life is not brief, he argued. It only feels short because we scatter it on things that mean nothing. Think of the contrast. Most men of Rome were chasing glory, wealth, pleasures. Marcus, the emperor of the largest empire, chose instead to chase perspective, because he knew no victory, no title, no statue survives time, but the way you live your days does. Now take this to modern life. Viktor Frankl, surviving the horrors of Auschwitz, found the same truth. Meaning is not in the length of your life, but in the depth of your response to it. Even in a concentration camp stripped of everything, Frankl realized the final freedom is choice. The choice of attitude, the choice of meaning. Marcus prepared for death not to live less, but to live fuller. He knew every morning was a gift, every breath was borrowed, and this perspective made him urgent, but never rushed, calm, but never passive. Modern psychology confirms what the Stoics already knew. Those who contemplate mortality regularly live with deeper focus and gratitude. By facing death, they stop fearing it and start living aligned with what truly matters. So what is the lesson? Perspective is power. Death is not an interruption. It's the reminder that time is your most precious currency. Imagine this. Every argument you waste, every scroll on your phone, every hour lost to distraction, that is time traded against the only asset you'll never get back. Marcus saw this clearly, and so did Seneca, and so did Frankl. That's why Marcus wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The meaning? Stop waiting. Don't postpone your life. Do the work, live the duty, embrace the people you love, now. Because perspective doesn't just prepare you for death, it teaches you how to live. Marcus Aurelius ruled during one of the darkest chapters of Rome. He didn't inherit a golden age, he inherited chaos. The Antonine Plague swept through the empire, killing millions, including his own family members. His reign was marked by endless wars on the frontiers, betrayal in the Senate, even rebellion from those closest to him. Most men would have broken, but Marcus did something different. He practiced resilience, not as a word, but as a way of life. In Meditations, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He knew he couldn't control the plague. He couldn't stop enemies from betraying him, but he could control his response, his discipline, his decisions, his inner calm. This is what modern thinkers call anti-fragility. Nassim Nicholas Taleb reminds us, the strongest systems don't just resist stress, they grow from it. Just as the body strengthens under pressure from weights, the mind grows stronger when tested by adversity. Angela Duckworth in Grit echoes this through research. Success isn't talent, it's sustained perseverance, the ability to keep going when conditions are brutal. Marcus lived that truth. His empire was bleeding, but his example gave his people stability. David Goggins says in Can't Hurt Me, "The pain you feel today is the strength you build tomorrow." Marcus understood this centuries earlier. Every hardship wasn't a punishment, it was training. Think of it. While others cursed the plague, Marcus asked, "How can I serve despite it?" While others feared betrayal, he reminded himself, "The wrongdoer does wrong to himself." His compass stayed steady even when the world burned. This is resilience, not the absence of suffering, but the mastery of it, the ability to be bent but not broken, to stand tall even when storms hit from every side. And here's the lesson for us. Life is not designed to be smooth. You will face plagues of your own, failures, betrayals, losses. But like Marcus, you can choose, collapse under them, or let them shape you into someone unshakable. Remember his words. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That is not just survival. That is power born from adversity. Marcus Aurelius never stood on a stage to deliver speeches of inspiration. He didn't write his meditations for us. They were private notes, reminders to himself on how to live. And yet, centuries later, we still read them. Why? Because he lived them. Marcus understood what modern leaders often forget. People don't follow words, they follow example. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This was not philosophy in theory, it was philosophy in action. When Rome faced famine, Marcus sold treasures from the imperial palace to feed his people. When armies marched against the empire, he went to the front lines himself, enduring the cold, the hunger, the danger. When betrayal struck within his circle, he responded not with endless revenge, but with duty and composure. This is what Jocko Willink calls extreme ownership. Leaders don't pass blame, they take responsibility. They show by action what discipline, honor, and courage look like. Authority built on fear collapses when tested. Authority built on example lasts generations. Even today in modern psychology and business, research proves it. Influence flows not from what you say, but from the consistency of how you act. Children model the behavior of parents, not their lectures. Soldiers follow commanders who share the same risks, not those who hide behind them. Teams trust leaders who keep promises, not those who only speak about values. Marcus knew this truth. A king's words are forgotten quickly. A king's actions shape history. That is why we still speak his name. Not because he told Rome how to live, but because he lived as Rome's anchor in a time of storms. And the lesson for us is simple. If you want to lead, in your family, your work, your life, stop speaking about what should be done. Do it. Be the example. The rest will follow. Here's the hidden truth most people forget about Marcus Aurelius. He was the most powerful man on earth, emperor of Rome, commander of armies, master of nations. Yet in his private journals, he confessed to the same battles you and I fight every day. He wrote about struggling to get out of bed. He wrote about anger boiling inside him when betrayed. He wrote about fear of death and how fleeting glory truly is. Think about that. If the man who ruled the known world still had to remind himself not to be ruled by emotions, then what does that tell us? It tells us this: struggling does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. The difference is not whether you struggle, but how you respond. Marcus turned to Stoicism as his armor. His philosophy was not decoration, it was survival. And if even an emperor needed Stoicism to fight his inner wars, then our doubts, distractions, and fears are not signs of failure. They are signs that we are alive. The hidden power is realizing this. You don't need to be free of struggle to be strong. You need to face it daily, just as Marcus did. Now, imagine carrying Marcus's calm into your own life. Imagine waking up tomorrow and stress no longer rules you. Imagine walking into your day, and comfort no longer weakens you. Imagine facing challenges, and fear no longer controls you. Instead, you move through the world steady, disciplined, and free, just as Marcus Aurelius did. This is the silent shift. Strength is no longer about conquering others. It's about mastering yourself. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet his true victory was ruling himself. Power fades, crowns fall, empires collapse, but self-mastery, that endures. Carry this truth into your own life, and no force on earth can take your strength away.